How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Owning XRP, owning 250 tokens is a big deal. I want to explain why this is, why you may want to consider getting your hands on about 250 tokens right about now. And also, we want to go through all the bullish news on XRP recently. XRP now is performing very well. It's up 18% on the day. Actually, out of the top 100, it has the second best day today, being up 18%, right behind HBAR. Now, this puts in pretty rarefied air. I'd consider basically Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, and SUI investors to be the big winners of the bear market and now the bull market. They have outperformed just about everything out of the large caps and without a lot of the risk of some of the smaller caps. So congrats to XRP investors. Let's get into why it's moving up right now, why you want to get your hands on some, what just came out actually from the SEC, which is pretty bullish. And it's not the Ripple case at all. It's something that could unlock even more money going into XRP, and why you might want 250 XRP right now. Now, if you want to trade XRP, there's a link underneath the video to BYDefi. You can sign up in just a few minutes. They don't KYC. You don't need a VPN, and you can get started trading in just a few minutes. I've been telling people about this for a long time. We've been able to get great returns, and actually something really cool on there. You can go to CoinM and then scroll down to XRP. You can trade XRP with XRP. So it's a way to actually get your hands on more XRP with your current stack. So for example, I opened this trade when XRP was $2.15. Now we're at $3.64. We did a 3x trade and it's up significantly, and I get paid in XRP tokens, which is pretty awesome. I wish I'd known about this a while ago, because I had a trade open on BLOFIN, which is up 900% now, but I did it in USDT instead of in XRP tokens. So I would be up, I opened this up at an average price of $1.45. I'd be up over double, like 2.5 times as much, 2,500%. if I'd done this in XRP tokens. So if you want to start trading, you can check out the link to BYDefi underneath the video. They have some big deposit bonuses right now too, between 10 and 50%, and some free Bitcoin. When you trade, you get free Bitcoin right now because of the trading competition they have going. XRP breaking out to new all-time high. Some people will say, no, it's not an all-time high, because I think like maybe intraday back in 2017 on certain charts, it got higher. But if you go to TradingView, which is widely considered the top platform for charting, it's at all-time highs, $3.63. It hit all-time highs in terms of market cap. You can see it's about half the market cap of Ethereum now. If it goes up to $7.30, it is breaking Ethereum based on where Ethereum is now. Of course, alts in general are doing really well today. Bitcoin's doing well. It's up 1%, but Ethereum's up 6%, XRP up 19%, and so on. Everything is looking good. And a lot of this is due to the Genius Act getting passed, or looking like it's going to get passed. It got through the House today. Brad Garlinghouse says the last major financial regulation bill was passed 15 years ago in response to the 2008 financial crisis. Tomorrow, the signing of the Genius Act cements the U.S.'s future in being a leader in truly innovative financial technology, stablecoins. This moment is a historic one, and I, for one, am looking forward to all that is to come as a result of the transformational legislation. Okay, Brad Garlinghouse, they call it here a mic drop moment, and XRP is in the front row. So obviously, our LUSD will do really well with all the connections that XRP has, RLUSD being their stablecoin. The SEC is also considering innovation exemption from regulations to boost tokenization. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what this would mean. Innovation exemption, like maybe they have looser rules or something, looser regulation, which will scare some people, but they're trying to boost tokenization. That's going to happen quickly, in my opinion. We already see XRPL or XRP Ledger being used with this Control-Alt-Delete or Control-Alt deal to tokenize Dubai real estate. They just made a big deal with Control-Alt to expand their institutional custody services in the Middle East. and help Dubai digitize its real estate sector. Everyone wants to tokenize and digitalize these kinds of asset classes because there's going to be more trading. There are going to be fees that these large institutions can get their hands on. They were also, Ripple was also named for the third year in a row one of the world's top fintech companies by CNBC. All right, that's pretty cool. So XRP breaking out to new all-time highs, right? XRP versus Bitcoin. So the XRP Bitcoin chart is looking bullish for XRP. Of course, there is some significant resistance right here. You can see right around 0.1. So I think this is obviously messing with the decimal places a little bit, but you can see if XRP outperforms by another 10% or so, we're kind of getting to historical resistance back in 2020 and back at the end of the beginning of 2025 as well. Although in the cycles earlier, you did see XRP perform much better than this versus Bitcoin, because of course Bitcoin was at like 17,000 and XRP was around the same price. So it's definitely changed over time, but it would be nice to see a higher high against Bitcoin if you're an XRP holder. Now, why do I say owning 250 XRP is significant? Well, that's nearing on $1,000. If you look at the percentage of accounts with balances of that amount, this is a pretty interesting chart. It shows you how many accounts have certain amounts, or how many wallets have 2,500 XRP. Only about 10% of them, 663,000 wallets. To be a top 5% holder of XRP, you need about 8,700 XRP. To be a top 1% holder, you need 50,600 XRP. To be a 0.1% holder, you need 369,000 XRP. Then it just gets insane with people having 6 million XRP in the top 0.01%. So why do I say 250? Well, it gets you a tenth of the way to being a top 10% holder. As time goes on, XRP is distributed too. I was just looking at this chart in the past, and it was about 3,250 XRP to be in the top 10%. Now it's 2,500. As time goes on, as XRP goes up in price, it gets distributed, right? People take profits, or new people come in and they can't quite buy as much. So to be in the top 10%, it gets easier in terms of how many XRP tokens you need, but the price has gone up too. So it actually becomes harder in US dollar terms. So if you buy 250 XRP today, are you going to be a top 10% holder? No, but keep in mind, there are only about 7 million wallets, a little bit under 7 million wallets that hold XRP right now. So really, you're in the top, 0.1% of all people on earth if you hold any XRP, because most people don't. And I'm not saying you have to have 200 XRP to be wealthy or anything like that. No, I think XRP will do well this bull run. I think other cryptos will too. And I'm not telling you should go out and buy XRP right this second either, because of course we could see dips. What I think you should do, if you feel strongly about XRP, is to dollar cost average. This is something that I did with my top conviction plays during the bear market. Right? I bought Bitcoin every single week, and really I stuck to Bitcoin at that point. And sure, XRP is up versus Bitcoin over the last couple months, but overall, Bitcoin's one of the best performers this bull run, and I didn't think it carried as much risk as some other altcoins at the time, especially in a bear market. So if you feel like you're maybe underexposed, that's where I really like leverage trading. That's something that I've been able to do to get a lot of exposure to XRP, to Ethereum, to Solana. Of course, some of these I do hold spot, but I've been able to get exposure and actually make a ton of money, more than I would be able to buy, more than I'd be able to make if I was just buying spot. The other interesting thing to consider is if only a couple million people, 6-7 million people own XRP, how many people have 250 XRP? Maybe a couple million, if that. Of course, there are some people that have multiple wallets. Compare that with how many people own $1,000 of US dollars, or have $1,000 US dollars of some other currency. Like, it's infinite, and it's only going to go up as time goes on, because the governments are printing more money. They're inherently greedy. So they're going to continue printing more money. scarce assets are going to go up in value. You know, there's a hard cap on XRP. It's going to be harder and harder to get your hands on 250 XRP. So people ask, like, is this enough to even buy? Is it significant? Well, it's obviously dependent on your situation, but it's much harder to get your hands on these kinds of assets as time goes on. I mean, look at that with Bitcoin over the last 10 years. You used to be able to buy a Bitcoin relatively cheaply compared to today, right? You know, $500, $600 maybe. Now, it takes so much more. You can't, you know, someone worth $1,000 can't buy a full Bitcoin, not even close. But back then, you know, you work a summer job, you could maybe buy 5 or 10 Bitcoin if you felt strongly about it. Now you work a summer job and you can stack maybe 0.05 Bitcoin or 0.1 Bitcoin if you're a college kid, of course I'm talking. But even working a full-time job, it would take years for most people to hit whole coiner status, and that's with a 6-figure job. For most people, they'll never be able to get to that point. So I'm ranting a bit here, but yeah, maybe you want to get your hands on some of this before adoption continues, and that before retirement accounts get unlocked and start being able to buy this, and before XRP has an ETF that's approved. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video though. If you want to trade, I do have some videos recently where I went through this. I'll put both of them on the end screen, and I'll also put up the video I just made on how much XRP you need to retire. It was around $3.25 that I made this video just a few hours ago, and we've already moved up like 10%. But if you want to check that video out, I'll leave it on the end screen as well. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'll see you all soon. Bye.